go back and talk about our first leg of this journey that we've set out on. This was from basically when we left Colorado and got everything ready, and we went out to the East Coast, and we had to get back to Colorado. So this is what we call our first leg. We are now on our second leg. We thought this would be a good opportunity to talk about our thoughts on the first leg and maybe a few things that we might change on our second leg, which I guess we've already implemented already, so that's good. So let's set the picture for kind of how we got started and everything we went through to get on this, which was unfortunately under duress. I'm not sure that's the right term, but definitely under stress.
Like way back when we decided?
No, just like what we had to do to get ready to get going.
To do this trip thing. So, well, we really didn't decide until June, probably for sure. Don't you think?
Yeah.
We were contemplating throughout the month of May, and then fully decided about the first week of June, and our intention was to leave the 1st of September. So that gave us June, July, and August to fix up our house, declutter, take stuff to the dump, take stuff to the thrift stores, wrap up our life in a nice pretty bow and move on to an RV. Oh, and buy the RV and buy the truck.
Right, yeah. So yeah, I mean, the point is that was all really compressed into a very small amount of time. So as you guys probably already know, we ended up renting our house out in Colorado. We fixed it up before doing that. We downsized to move on to this. So to fast forward a little bit, by the time we got out, we were already a little bit late, and we wanted to get out to the East Coast for September 15th for a birthday out there. So we had beat feet. We left assuming we were going to take 4 days to get out there, and it took 5 because we wasted a day in Omaha, Nebraska, replacing a turbocharger in the truck. We finally got out to the East Coast, and we celebrated the birthday with the family member out there.
Yeah.
But we wanted to spend some time while we were out there, so we took time to go up to Maine and visit my brother, and then up to Bar Harbor, Maine. And then by that time, we were already in a position where we had to start heading back for Colorado. So I think that was probably the first thing we decided we needed to change. We covered way too much ground.
Way too far.
Yeah, in that first amount of time, or first leg. So we saw pretty much nothing between Colorado and Pennsylvania. That's Colorado, Wyoming, Nebraska, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, and then all the way through Pennsylvania. So we just blew through all of that, which we decided to do as a conscious effort. And I think on one hand, it was a good thing in the sense that we were just new to this, and we kind of got out to Pennsylvania and spent 2 weeks to kind of settle in, right?
Well, even just thinking about it, like now that I'm back in that space, it feels sort of like we were just in shock. I mean, I think one of the things you're not quite prepared for when you choose to make this transition is the emotional toll that getting everything ready is doing, and your brain's constantly just focused on getting ready, pack the RV, what else do we have to do? And then once we hit those first 4 or 5 days in the truck, I think we're all just like
numb
and in shock, and then trying to get dogs walked, adjust the dogs to being in the car 8 or 9 hours per day to get out there, and having to deal with the truck light that kept coming on. So just even, I don't know, talking about it makes me remember how sort of kind of zoned out I was those first at least few weeks.
Yeah, it was chaotic, but at the same time, because you were a little numb by that time, it kind of didn't matter in a way.
Sitting in the car might have been okay.
Yeah, but it wasn't until we got out there, and after 2 weeks, I think we finally realized how chaotic it truly was. We got a chance to settle down just a little bit.
I don't know. I felt, frankly, for me, I felt like the chaos was up until we returned to Colorado. There was just so much going on here that we were getting phone calls from back home and things that had happened that I think the first leg was just, it was fun to sightsee some of these things and they all look great on video, but behind the scenes there were some days where I was like a deer in headlights.
Yeah.
And I think it's taken to now to finally feel like, okay,
yeah,
we got this.
And that's kind of, that right there is kind of why we wanted to do this for this episode, just to kind of share with you how crazy it was, our first leg, and the things that we're going to change from here on out. So let's talk about some of the things that went on at the house. We've shared some things, and then others we didn't really go into detail with. As we mentioned,
didn't know how they were going to turn out, really.
Right. As we mentioned, we were getting our house ready to rent because in order for us to do this, we need to be able to rent the house out to cover the mortgage, and we are able to cover the campground fees. So we really needed to get the house ready to rent. So we got everything done in general, but the one thing we decided to leave was that I was remodeling our bathroom and we ran out of time. So I thought, well, I will leave the tile to a professional, and we'll have the property management company hire a professional, come in and finish the tile for us, and then rent it out. Well, that turned out to be a complete nightmare. I'm going to show you pictures of what our tile looked like after this professional got a hold of it. But to make a long story short, this guy destroyed our bathroom. The tile was an absolute mess. He destroyed over $800 worth of tile. It turns out he destroyed our floor, a brand new floor that I put in the bathroom. And he was there working at like 1 o'clock in the morning with a tile saw running in our master bedroom on the carpet. And of course my neighbors probably heard all of that. So we didn't know any of this. Our first property management company was telling us the whole time that, one, the tile had been completed, two, it looked good, and she was supposed to be sending us pictures of it just to show us what it turned out. Turns out she was lying to us the entire time. It had never even been started when she was telling us this. So this was compounding the stress. So we're out on the East Coast trying to figure out how to get somebody else in there to fix our tile. And just really stressing out about, oh, how much this is going to cost, how much extra it's going to be, and all of this, and the house is delayed for renting it. So, yeah, I mean, which is part of the reason why we had to get back to Colorado. We had to go back anyway because our daughter needed to get her braces tuned. Tweaked, adjusted. But it was just making everything worse. So now we have to make sure we get back to Colorado, and on the whole way we're dealing with all of the house rental stuff while trying to enjoy our new life on an RV.
And Frank, I mean, we owe heaps of gratitude to our friends back home because they were the ones, like Travis had called one of his friends and said, hey, can you pick up the extra tile? We can return it to Home Depot when we get back at $9 a square sheet. Yeah, we want that back. Right. And his friend went in and the tile was all still sitting there in the bathroom, never been touched, wasn't in the shower, and we thought they were done with the project. Then one of my friends went in to check on how it was progressing and sent us all the pictures that you'll get to see. So while we're going through all these things, it felt really pretty great to know that we had people back home that we could rely on that would check up on some of these things for us too.
Yeah, that was huge. So we naturally fired the tile guy, we fired the property management company, and I had to get a new property management company in there to work on getting the house rented out. I hired my own contractor to go in there and fix what had been done, which this guy came at, quite a bit more. Now that you think about it, of course he did.
Of course he did. You get what you pay for.
Yeah, it was much more expensive. But I didn't hire the first guy, they did. So he had to tear everything out. He tore all the tile out, all of the cement board that I put in for the shower. He's the one that told me about the floor being destroyed. So he had to tear out the floor, which means he had to take out the toilet and the vanity and everything. So anyway, so we're dealing with that. And then, as you guys do know, we were dealing with truck issues in all honesty, yeah, they kind of started, right around the main time frame, but we weren't sure what was going on.
You were fixing something in Saco.
Right.
And then that didn't fix the problem.
And it didn't quite. We were having problems with it not starting after it was hot. And I took it into a dealership in Saco, Maine, and they were fixing a part, we were thinking was going to fix it, but I never really took care of it. So anyway, we had been dealing with this issue, this hot start issue, all the way from Maine. And when we finally got to...
No, the children and I got stuck at the post office in Pennsylvania.
Oh, that's true.
Where it wouldn't turn on. And I can tell you, it
was
like
happening in Pennsylvania.
The first or second week we were on the trip, and it was the kids and I stuck at the post office. I was not a happy camper. I mean, we're coming off the stress of getting everything ready and getting on the road and then traveling on the road for 5 days, where a few nights we slept on the highway with the dogs, and it was just like
Not
an adjustment.
On the highway, at a rest stop. That just sounds
off
sketchy.
the highway. So, in the pouring rain, though. It was raining.
It rained the entire time.
Oh, and it rained the entire time. But, I forgot what it started.
Oh, talking about the truck not starting.
Oh, the truck
yeah,
not starting.
David actually started in Pennsylvania when we were in the Poconos, so we had been dealing with it since then.
Which is the second week, and we'd already replaced the turbo. We replaced the turbo in Nebraska.
Right.
8 hours, 10 hours.
Oh yeah.
From our house.
Full day in Omaha.
Yeah.
So anyway, we get to Wisconsin, and after talking to my mechanic, he said, you need to get it in and have it checked. Well, to make another long story short, I'm not sure if any of this is short, I took it to a mechanic in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, and they came back. It was going to cost $11,000, parts and labor. And it turned out they hadn't even added in taxes and all, fluids and a lot of stuff they hadn't added in yet. And so I talked to my mechanic, and he said, "Well, they're rooking you. They're putting a lot of stuff in there that you don't need. If you do happen to get it back to Colorado, then we can work with you." So the decision was made in Wisconsin to skip South Dakota.
Yeah, I was just thinking you make it sound so logical. That day we got that bill was not good. I mean, truth has to be told. I was in tears.
Yeah.
I'm like, I think both of us were, do we move back into the house? It's not even rented yet. Our tile's not even finished. What are we doing?
Right.
Is this even supposed to be what we're doing if all of these things are going wrong as we're traveling on, I mean, we're talking 5 or 6 weeks into the trip at that point. It was exceedingly overwhelming.
Yeah, there were a couple of very stressful days. Definitely that day was a stressful day. There were tears being shed. I was having the same thoughts.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, is that our sign that we're not supposed to be doing this? Does this mean we're shut down and we need to go plan B? But we decided to stick it out and do it. But we also, in that same week, I think it was the same week, is when we got the extra news that the floor in the bathroom had also been destroyed. It was going to cost us more money to have that taken out and replaced. So yeah, that was a really rough week in Wisconsin, actually. But I have fond memories of Wisconsin.
Well, see, this is a funny thing, and I think of this often. We watched a lot of YouTube videos of our own when we were getting ready to do this. Him more than me, I think, in all reality. But I remember sitting at a park with a friend one day saying, I want my life put to music too, because it looks so good when I see all these other families living to music. So you can see in our Wisconsin video last week, it looks like fun and games when we're touring and seeing a lot of things. But behind the scenes, wow, it kind of felt like the world was falling apart.
Yeah, world was imploding. Life was to music, so.
Yeah, when you said it to music, it's all good.
But this is why we wanted to record this, because
Yeah.
we want you to know what is actually going on behind the scenes. It's not necessarily stuff that makes great video to do all that, so it might be best to just kind of sit here and explain it and let you know what we went through on this first leg.
And we didn't know how it was going to pan out. I mean, I think it's hard to start a story that you don't know how it's going to finish. So
Right.
we were just kind of like, we don't know what's going on. So let's just take it day by day while we're here and try to get it all worked out.
Yep. So that cuts to Wisconsin to Colorado. We still had to be back in Colorado, but we had decided that we would skip South Dakota because we were supposed to go up to South Dakota.
The Badlands.
Yes,
Always
the
wanted to see the
Badlands, Mount
Badlands.
Rushmore,
Yeah.
and then head into Colorado next week. So we decided to skip that and make a 2-day beeline straight back to Colorado with the truck that actually ran well. We had a lot of concerns, one of us did, about that going smoothly, but it got back to Colorado. So we got the truck in. They had it for almost 2 weeks. And again, we'll show you more pictures of poor Hagrid in the ICU getting his $10,000 worth of work
Yes.
done.
Was 10,000.
Yeah, even with a little bit of help from and pricing from my mechanic, it still ended up being over $10,000 in repairs for this. And to fill you in, I don't know if I've done that. It was a cracked head in our truck, which is actually a common thing that happens in these Ford 6-liters. As cracked head, we had a bunch of bad fuel injectors, and of course a lot of parts had to be replaced or flushed out because of the cracked head leaking diesel fuel into our coolant, which compromised a lot of the rubber gaskets and hoses and stuff. So
And smelled really bad when you
It
said
was
it
really
idling
bad.
in the car.
really bad. So if you have one of these older 6-liters and your coolant smells like diesel, I'm sorry to tell you, you might have some issues ahead.
You might want to visit the
So
surgery center.
yeah, exactly. So anyway, it's not all a bad news story. We get the truck back. We're in Colorado for 2 weeks. We wanted to be there for 2 weeks. We had a lot of things to deal with. So while the truck was in the shop, we had a rental car, and we were able to visit the house. We were able to do other things at the house ourselves, but also check in on the guy, the new contractor finishing the bathroom. He was a little delayed. He didn't get done when he thought he was going to get done, but he got done just in time for the new property management company to get the place rented out, because the house wasn't really delayed, I guess, because of the bathroom, but it was just delayed in issues with property management companies and getting rented out that quickly. So they kind of came together. The house went under rental contract, I guess you could say.
Like the day after we left.
Yeah, and the people were going to be moving in literally the day after the guy
Yeah.
was going to be wrapping up the bathroom. So that all finally came to a close. I wrecked a motorcycle before we even went on this trip. We've talked about that. I had the motorcycle back, and I was able to go over to my friend's house, and we were able to work on it and get it ready for sale because it's all fixed back up. That hasn't sold yet, but that's okay. It's kind of the least of our worries. But getting the truck repaired solidly, getting the house rented out, getting that bathroom fixed, all of that we were finally able to bring to a close. And I think that was the one thing I so looked forward to, is leaving Colorado again with closure on the house. That the bathroom would be finished after that nightmare, that the house would be rented after all the delays, that the truck would be fixed and would be running to the point where we weren't worried about it. We weren't worried about shutting it off on a tow day. It didn't smell like diesel, and and the whole motorcycle situation. So that brings us to now, which, how do we feel about now, since we've gotten past or through the Colorado portion and gotten everything closed?
Oh, way better.
Way better.
I feel like like without those constant, and you know, even with all those issues and stuff we were dealing with mentally, the cool part about living on the RV is you still have to take care of today. So as much as it was on our minds and stressing us out, we still have to figure out how to grocery shop and figure out where the grocery stores are and still school the kids. So life went on, but it was still just really stressful. Now that we're on this second leg and some of those things are finalized, I feel like we're catching a groove, trying to settle into what our routine might look like. I mean, I think that some of that's going to be new, and we did do a like family meeting before we left Colorado with the kids and said, you know, what works for you, what didn't work for you, and we talked about what worked for us and some of the things we didn't like. Driving really long days were across the board. None of us want to do that again. So we're gonna try to implement some of the things they felt might have been missing or not. But I think now it feels like sort of the beginning of what's this life gonna be like, because it didn't really feel like that the first leg. It was just trying to keep our heads above water.
No, and I imagine every new RV couple or family or single RVer, they're all going to go through something similar. Hopefully not all of the house nightmare and
yeah, because most of them sell the house.
right, the house nightmare and the vehicle issues, whether you are in a drivable or towable. Hopefully you don't have to deal with all those issues. Those all kind of came into a perfect storm type situation for us, which was, I guess it makes good stories now, but it was really stressful.
It didn't feel so good that day. He said, that's going to be $11,000 if we fix it.
Yeah.
What?
Oh, I know. And at that point, even with our truck, it's an older truck. It was like, do you put the money into it or you just cut your losses? And we decided we had to put the money into it. But now we're in warmer weather. We're heading for even warmer weather, but it was 75 degrees out today.
Yeah.
I'm in shorts. I haven't been in shorts since the day I left Colorado, with the exception of 2 days in the Poconos when we actually had a nice weekend, and that was it. I haven't been in shorts since. So it's so nice to put shorts back on. Our drives, we've capped it at 4 hours max, and it's made Sunday, tow day, way better.
Yeah.
We can get up and we can relax in the morning. We can have our normal coffee, and Dad isn't running around as much.
He's lying. He still makes us hurry it along.
Pressuring people, get going.
But he likes the drive days.
I do like the drive days. They're exciting to get to a new location, but they're not as hurried. And for the most part, we're not checking in at night, especially this time of year. We're not checking in the dark, unless we take the opportunity on Sunday morning to go visit somewhere. I mean, we did that.
It might happen. But there is, like, once the time changed, we really wanted to be mindful of not getting in places, fingers crossed, if it was, like, dark out. Yeah.
It's a pain because, a lot of these RV parks you're going into, it's hard to see the numbers and the lanes.
You're, like, shining flashlights.
Yeah. I feel like you're the idiot trying to set up in the middle of the night and everybody's looking out their window at you, so... But yeah, I'm
sure that never happens.
4-hour drive days are much better for that reason. So that was one of the major changes that we implemented. And I said, just today or yesterday, that I'm actually sleeping again. When we first went on the RV, I think it was just pure exhaustion.
I think we were just
and before all hell broke loose, I was sleeping like a baby. And then when the truck issues started and the bathroom issues were discovered and the house wasn't rented out, and all of this stuff, then I wasn't sleeping. I was a very restless sleeper. But now, in the last, ever since we left Colorado,
you're sleeping again.
Yeah, I'm sleeping again like a baby, and it's been great. Not you?
I never really struggle with the sleep thing. I can sleep in the car, sleep when I lay down, sleep in a chair.
Right. So anyway, I think that about wraps it up. We've had a rough first leg, but I think we all are glad that we did it. We're still, even after all that, are still glad that we made this decision to go live on an
Yeah.
RV. We do talk about. We're already talking about what RV might have been a better choice, but I think there's always going to be an element of that.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I think everybody feels that because
Right.
there's no perfect
It's pros
one.
and cons for sure.
But there's definitely some things I think we would change, but yeah, we'll do that. Talk about it maybe when we do the tour of the RV, because I know there's people back home who still are wondering what
exactly.
our RV looks like.
We still owe you an RV tour to let
Yeah.
you know where we pack ourselves into on a daily basis. But anyway, I think that about wraps it up. Hope you guys stuck through all that. It was a little bit long, but we kind of wanted to bring that first leg to a close. Maybe some closure for ourselves
Maybe
personally.
more for us. No, but I think that it's really important because, I mean, I felt like even when we were watching videos of other people doing this, like, oh, isn't it so lovely?
Right.
And they're so lucky, and life must be so great for them.
How does nothing happen to them? Well, it probably does.
It probably does, and maybe we just didn't see all those episodes. But I just think for us, we want to keep it honest, and I know that a lot of people struggle to record that transition period because, like we said, you're just maxed out. I mean, you're so busy at home, but then you're also just exhausted once you're on the road. And I think it is too soon to talk about yet.
Right.
I think that whole transition, you can't even wrap your own mind around it until weeks, months later to be able to say, oh, that's what that was like.
Yeah. We had to process it first.
Yeah. Process before share.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So I want to thank, before we forget, I want to thank Matt, Ray, Nathaniel, Monica, Janine, Crystal, Christy, and Crystal.
Yeah.
All friends out in Colorado that helped us. Thank you so much for helping
And
us
Len.
through that.
We really want to thank Len,
Len,
for
our
hooking
new
us up with
tile-
a contractor.
Yeah, the reason for our new tile guy who got the job done right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely thank you everybody who helped us through all of that because, man, trying to manage that remotely, a country away. Does that sound like we were in a different country?
We weren't
From
a
across
country
the country?
away. I mean, ideally we would have made it to Nova Scotia or something, but we didn't.
Right. So anyway, thank you guys so much for helping us out with that because it was a huge help. You don't even know.
And much appreciated. Yeah.
So that's it. That's all we have for this update. Next week's video will be
Colorado
stuff we actually did in Colorado. And it's not going to be stuff about taking care of houses and getting motorcycles ready and looking at tile. None of that boring stuff. So anyway, thanks guys for following us. Please do click the subscribe button if you haven't already. Make sure you give us a thumbs up and hit that bell icon for notifications so you can get updates for when we do release new videos. If you haven't checked us out on Instagram, please do there. It's instagram.com/ohtheplaceswillroll. We are under the same name on Facebook. And if you haven't found our blog yet,
wow, you got it all down. It's like professional.
yeah, but you're supposed to finish that last little bit.
Yes, and especially if you're curious about how we got to make our decision, that's all over at the blog. And that's at ohtheplaceswillroll.com.
And then last but not least, we are also on Patreon. If you guys ever feel like going over there and donating a coffee to us, patreon.com/ohtheplaceswillroll. So that should do it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. We'll see you next week.